might have been delayed. Okay. Good morning, everyone. This is Delegate Byron. I am going to call the commission, the Manufacturing Development Commission, to order. Trying to figure, are we virtual too, by the way?
Yes.
So, yes, okay. Did anyone sign up for public comments on virtual? Okay.
No, ma'am.
All right, so we all know that this is the day before session and everyone is busy getting drafts ready and things like that. And we have a couple we're going to share with you today, but I'm going to tell you up front that we have a hard stop because a lot of people have other things going on, and I have another commission meeting to go to at 11 with one of our staff attorneys. So we are going to have a hard stop at 10:45. So you won't be here long, and we will try and keep everything precise and keep us in order. So with that, I don't think I'll go through a review of the members. We all know who we are. If staff would like to present what legislation you have there, or has everyone received a copy of it? Okay. So we have 3 bills that we're going to be looking at today with members, 2 of them on this commission, that I guess we are looking for maybe the Manufacturing Commission to give a recommendation on for session would be very helpful. So with that, Senator McPike, would you like to start with your bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is a follow-up, members of the Commission, to our discussion on sort of Virginia first and United States first in terms of procurement. And that's LD 23103-897D on the top left, a small 3-pager that you should have in your packet.
897?
897
Okay, yes.
is the top 3 on the left of the bill draft.
Okay.
And so it does provide on the Virginia Public Procurement Act an opportunity for an evaluation of bid and providing essentially a deduct of up to 7% for the end product, and for a U.S. product up to 2% to allow that preference to take place. And also in the enactment provides the setting up of a work group on identifying means to identify how we can increase the amount of recycled materials in our workflow. And so I'd also defer to Mr. Vassy if Brett wanted to comment on the draft as well. I know Manufacturers Association has also taken a look at that. And this is something that we've been, I think, collectively thinking about for several years. Yes. And I think Brett did a good job at our last meeting at running through the comparison of other states that are doing very similar. And I know serving on general laws, that's always been one of the concerns, at least in the Senate, is making sure we don't get out of bounds in terms of competitive advantage, but frankly, other states are starting to do this, so.
Yes, and I was going to mention that our last meeting, we did discuss this initiative, and there would be a draft forthcoming, so we appreciate you putting this in. Brett, do you want to speak to this?
Madam Chair, at the last meeting, we handed out some comparison around the states, particularly all the southern states around us have already done something similar, and the request was to work with Senator McPike, and in the audience today is Senator DeStaff on this to bring it forward. And this is the best of South Carolina and Texas, and a little bit of North Carolina. That's what this is an amalgam of. So this would be a very competitive posture for Virginia manufactured goods in state competition. Madam Chair, the only thing that I would contribute is the Deputy Secretary of Commerce, Nicole Riley, could not be here today. She convened a working group to help form consensus with the administration and the DGS and some other agencies. At this point in time, they asked if I would convey they do not have a position. They just hope that if they find anything that they would need, like a implementation timeline, some extension, that the patrons would be receptive to that. That's the only thing they asked me to convey today.
Okay, comments. Delegate Marshall.
Yes, Brett, so if I look over on line 54, so this is really a study.
Madam Chair, the enactment clause is to continue this work around additional products with recycled content for future years, in particular, how we deal with tax credits related to those products in state procurement, since this bill does deal with recycled content. This is just a vehicle for continuing more work into the future.
So it lays out criteria for the Public Procurement Act, but then puts the other study in the end to continue on other things. So that complements it, but doesn't consist of the bill.
It does. Madam Chair, not to overly complicate it, but for the delegate, lines 47 and lines 54 through 62 should be read in complement. We have DEQ could probably address this. We have an upcoming problem, environmental problem, which is our waste tires are generally sent to North Carolina, I understand, for incineration. That plant will be shut down. We have no place to send our tires. And right now, we need to find the technology to be able to keep those out of landfills. And we think that procurement and recyclability connected, we could get more product back into the market and out of landfills. So that's how these are connected.
Do they all go there?
I don't know the percentage, Madam Chair, but I understand the majority of Virginia's tires go to that plant for incineration in North Carolina that will be shuttered soon, and I don't know that exact date. This was a discussion with one of the agencies, DEQ.
Okay, any other comments from the members? Senator Steff, would you like, since you came and joined us, would you like to make a comment about this bill? Okay, good. Okay. Was that a no? Do we have let's do individual motions. Do we have a motion to recommend the draft that goes with this bill, since we don't have a bill number? This is 23103-897D, Senator McPike's bill. There is not a House version, correct? No, okay.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded to recommend this bill for this coming session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Madam Chair, I'm going to abstain because I'm sure that it's probably a good bill, but having just gotten it, I just can't say, that I'm going to vote to support it from the commission.
I love you too, David.
You
I'm
carry
sorry.
your own consequences for your actions, so we'll leave it at that. Okay, so we have one abstention. All right. Brad Vassy, would you like to, was there another bill of someone that wasn't here? Or, no, Delegate Runyon has a bill. Sorry.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Madam Chair. Our bill is titled the Virginia Recycling Development Center. Its goal is to further development of markets and processing for recycled commodities and products. And so if you read through the bill, there are a number of duties identified, including providing applied research and development, marketing assistance, and policy analysis. And director appointed, get to the next page here. So, and various items that go through, and I'd like for you all to review those, but I think it's done very extensively, and I think Mr. Vassy will be able to speak to some more details for that. The major change is that there'll be a recycling development fund created, and that will be funded by the litter fund, I think it's called the litter tax, is that right, Brett? So what we're doing is taking 75% of that money that's currently being collected and applying it to the recycling fund. The 25% balance remains in the litter tax fund. So it's not a new tax increase, it's existing revenue, but it is more targeted to how can we expand in a market-based system, increased recycling and development of the waste stream so that we avoid the problems like we're having. So, you know, I'm not sure because I wasn't looking at that. I think it is bill number 2030D. That's just the draft number, yeah, I apologize, not the bill number.
Oh, what is the litter tax used for now? Though, is that your question? Okay.
That's my question, too. I'd like for Mr. Vassy to respond.
The litter tax is collected on bottles and cans, manufactured products. That goes into the litter fund. Also, fines and fees for litter violations. And there's a board, of which manufacturers don't serve on, by the way, so there's no self-interest. But that fund is used exclusively for grants to local government for operating recycling programs and litter control programs. Most of it is, as we understand it, most of it is personnel, and then the rest of it is used for actual programming, you know, how to educate the public and make sure they're aware of their recycling opportunities and resources.
Doug Marshall.
So Brett, you said bottles and cans manufactured. Is that manufactured in the state or out?
I should have said consumed, I'm sorry, consumed.
So it can be manufactured in
Could be
anywhere? And so that tax is at the point of sale or?
Wholesale?
At the wholesale, okay.
Okay, Delegate Mullen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I guess for Mr. Vassy, my understanding was that the litter fund, a lot of that money right now for the criminal costs for somebody who's convicted of a litter violation right now, that money goes into the fund, and then localities can apply for those grants, and then at least like James City County, in particular York County, down where I'm at, they apply for those grants to get money back to have employees or staff members who are then going out and actually collecting stuff on the side of the road. Is that part of what people are still using statewide as well for litter control grants as well?
Madam Chair, it is my understanding that there is flexibility. The last time this was reviewed, flexibility for those funds to be used in that way. But I understand a large percentage is used just for personnel for educational purposes. But yeah, it's not exclusive. It doesn't limit. So actual cleanup days, they call it, many localities that use these funds for that. Yes, that's my understanding too.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
so
Delegate Reed.
what's the total amount that's in the litter fund right now?
Madam Chair, it's a good question, but I know the governor's, in the governor's amended budget, they've added $3 million as a line item. It's not described how it's to be used, but it is in there as a plus up. And I'm not drawing a correlation to this bill. I'm just saying that was in his budget. It's item, I believe, 380 is the number.
And Madam Chair, so again, I think Delegate Runyon, your bill was to take 75% of this money, which is currently going to localities, and redirect it towards the purposes of your bill. Okay, so just to net it out, we don't know how much that is, but we're going to take that money away from the localities. Okay.
Madam Chair, to speak to that comment, I think the intent of the bill is to eliminate waste streams earlier. And so create alternatives and additional new methods of recycling so that we don't have to have someone picking up trash alongside the road, that it never makes it there. That's the intent of the bill. And as I mentioned earlier in my comments, market-based. So we really are working hard to put a group of stakeholders together, public and private, local, state, really all folks that would be interested in this to work together to figure out how to stop it up front. That's really the attraction that I have in it. And I do appreciate the delegates' comments about the money we're taking from localities, but I think we need to look forward. How do we improve as opposed to continue with the status quo? I am looking forward to also finding out about the amount of money collected in the tax, and apologize for not having that information available this morning for the commission.
Well, that's very helpful, because I think looking at it in a different perspective like that, the localities, unless they're using it for something that is other than what they're doing to market people to encourage them to recycle, and I don't know that at this point, that trying to do something with the massive amount of recycling, this advisory committee is all, these are non-legislative members and people that are experienced in this area. So that would be helpful for these groups to advise recycling infrastructure before it actually hits the localities and may lessen their burden. So they may see this as a positive rather than a negative.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
On the local government issue, it's addressed in lines 34 through 38 and specifically 42. It preserves local governments as a primary partner and grants to be one of the primary purposes of the fund.
What were those lines again?
34 through 38, public and private recycling, and then lines 42, issue grants and incentives.
So do the higher ed institutions get a portion of that tax too? No, okay. Okay, any questions from our members? Do we have a motion on the bill, or do people want to spend some more time with this? I mean, you certainly may have some questions that people feel inclined to.
I would offer a motion for recommendation from the commission on the bill.
Okay, we have a motion, and that's been seconded. All in favor? Or do you have comments? I'm sorry. Senator McPike.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think there's a lot of elements that are positive in the bill. I guess my question would be, I'd love to see the fiscal impact associated with it. And so I would like to potentially endorse it in concept, but I do want to know a little bit more information on the fiscal impact and frankly, the impact to localities. I want to make sure that there's still substantial funding for little control. There's many localities that do a tremendous amount of work on that. I think this is a good step forward to identify, but I also want to make sure we don't create harm, at least in the funding section, if that makes sense. So I will vote in support of the concept at this point, but I do need some follow-up information.
Okay, so would you consider that a friendly amendment to the motion to make it a little bit easier on your members here?
Madam Chair, I would.
Okay. All right, all in favor of the amended motion to support this as a positive concept? Pending, answers to some of the fiscal impact and other things, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
And Madam Chair, I'm just going to abstain because I haven't had a chance to really review it more thoroughly.
Okay. All right. The next one, I will do my bill, and that should be quick because this was a bill we had last year. I don't think it was ever brought up in the Senate. It is 23102-357D. Brian Brimmer. And this bill was was submissive. This bill was to encourage our schools and the community college system to enter into collaborative agreements for implementation of competitive compensation structure to recruit and retain adjunct instructors. Lynchburg City did that this past year, so there isn't anything stopping them, but some of them have questions as to whether or not this will clarify that certainly it is allowable and encouraged to do so. I would love to make it mandatory, but we agreed to go with encouraging. Lynchburg City and Campbell County had trouble getting a particular teacher that was qualified. This enabled them to pay more through this memorandum of understanding and to share that particular instructor. So I think it's a good measure that we're going to have to start utilizing as we try to find more qualified people to do the training that's needed, not only at the community college system, but at our schools. So do we have any questions from anybody? This passed unanimously out of the House. There's, like I said, I'm hopeful that we can get the Senate to take it up this year. Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll just point out that we had this conversation with the community college, and the consensus was that a number of the community college foundation boards can supplement, just so you have that information as a background.
Okay. And they were not opposed to this.
No, they were very
They
supportive.
were very supportive. I thought so. Okay. Any questions? A motion? Okay, we have a motion to recommend this bill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? This is identical, Delegate Reed, so I imagine since you voted for it, you're okay with this one? Okay. We have one more with permission from the patron. Brett, we don't have that in front of us. Were you going to share that? Okay.
Madam Chair, this is 29D.
Members, let's make sure. There is one more here that I mentioned 3 because the 4th one is not on the committee, but you have it in front of you. Go ahead.
And I also would disclose, I think Senator Ruff is working with Delegate Ware for this particular bill. This has been through 2 prior sessions to get in the format it's before you today. The reason it's a Section 1 bill is what we're trying to do is to provide an avenue where the State Corporation Commission can create a credit program to create an electricity cost schedule for these types of industries, energy-intensive, trade-exposed. This does not tie the hands of the SEC in determining the definition. It gives them direction on what it is. This is probably the first and only time you'll hear these words out of my mouth. They do this in the EU and in California, and it's a good thing. What it is intended to do, this is not going to boil the ocean. This is not going to be a grand solution for all 6,900 manufacturers. What this does is the EITEs, we believe they're about 900. These are companies like pulp and paper, steel and aluminum, heavy, what you would think of as heavy industry. And states who have not paid attention to their escalating costs have hollowed out those industries. We do not want to be one of those states. We want to learn that lesson. The only way to do it in our electricity regulatory system is to give SEC authority for this type of credit so that they could have a rate that they could compete against their primarily southern competitors, but also their foreign competitors that do locate in southern states in particular. And the only credit that would be allowable here in this version is the currently non-bypassable charges that are allocated to manufacturers from the Clean Economy Act. Just those charges would be the bypassable, and not all. It could be a portion. It's entirely permissive on the SEC. That's why it's written as a Section 1 bill. What we learned in the Senate, this bill's come out of the House a couple times, the Senate will not allow any bill amending the Clean Economy Act to pass. So we found a vehicle as a Section 1 bill, and this will enable the SEC to do its work. So that's why it's in the form it is, and that's all the bill does. It's enabling. It'll take probably several years for the SEC to get this program up and running. So it's not a quick fix either, just out of disclosure.
Any questions from the members? Did you say there was a Senate version or there's not?
I think Senator Ruff will be a chief co. I think that was the discussion.
Okay. Okay, do we have motion on this bill, or?
So moved.
Okay. This is House Bill 1480, and we have a motion to, yes, do you have a question, Senator McPike, or comments?
I can speak to it after the motion, if that's
Okay.
appropriate.
Well, the motions, we have a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess there's significant moving parts still on this. I would like to know more about. I understand that it's in the pilot, and I think there is rightly some level of direction that we need to figure out on this. So I'm not going to necessarily support it yet because I want to know there's a lot of moving parts in this regulated space, and so I'd like to maybe work through this and figure out a way we can, I think, still get the information we might need to set up a program, because I do think something is going to be needed to make sure we're not harming some of the jobs in Virginia inadvertently, and making sure we remain in a competitive fashion. But so I just wanted to note that, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yes, Madam Chair?
Yes.
So kind of along the same lines, this is something that Brett and I know that many of us have talked about on a regular basis and we need to address. And I'm going to, again, abstain until I had a chance to actually read through this in more detail, because it is such a complex issue that I just really want to understand that we're addressing the problem and we're not causing any kind of unintended consequences. So I'll abstain, I'll review it, and then I'll give it a full and fair hearing when I have a chance to actually see it again before us later.
Okay. So those of you that feel that way, I guess, can abstain rather than be a no, and we'll see if we have a majority on this. All in favor, say aye. 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 Any opposed or abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, so we have 4. 4 to 4, or, oh, Brett, do you have a vote? Okay. So, Tom, you have that? Right. All right, somebody does. Do you have that vote count down there? Okay, let's see the ayes again. So,
6 ayes.
and
6
the
ayes.
abstentions?
1, 2, 3 abstentions.
4. There's 4. Mullen, Reed, McPike, and Lewis.
Nays? Any nays? So, 6 yeas, 4 abstentions.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Are there any other bills that are not before us that any of the members want to mention or bring to our attention? Not at this time. That doesn't mean you don't want to. Certainly, this commission that is working together for manufacturing, if there is something that comes up later and you want to share it with us or ask for our support, let us know so we can work with our caucuses to make sure that we get support for the different initiatives.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I will add that kind of along the same lines, because again, we've been talking about this EITE issue for a long time. I have a piece of legislation that has been drafted and is being filed to create an EITE work group to basically look at the full scope of the fact that our manufacturers are dealing with at times a non-competitive environment when they're competing against foreign manufacturers. And so that will be coming to the General Assembly, but I didn't have enough time to be able to get it to you in time to be able to look at. And so, just so you know, it will be coming, it will be filed, but I didn't have enough time to get it before this body.
Yeah, so, and it's not a vote of, not in favor, so we. Mr. Vacy.
Madam Chair, I was going to say, since this is a short session and an election year, several members have asked if the commission would be holding hearings, the meetings, the remainder of the year, and/or would they be at plant sites? And I wanted to share with the commission, we are perfectly prepared, and we have companies in the reserve that would be glad to host the commission should you want to do plant site visits or hold a meeting co-located at a plant site. And there are 3 or 4 around the state. But I know it's an election year, it's difficult to do that with travel and your obligations. But I just wanted to make that offer that we can make that happen if that is amenable to you as chair and the other members.
And I think it's important that the commission keep communicating for the manufacturers, and I am good at polling, so I will poll people, and if we can get it to where everyone can make something like that, I think that's just important, and we will try to keep away from those dates that we know are going to be critical for people to want to meet with their constituents. So with that said, we will work to that end. We definitely will want to have some meetings. And we'll try to find some exciting places to go where everybody wants to go. And that always usually involves food, so we'll find something good there too. Okay, do we have any other business? Hearing none. Do we have any public comments that have come through? No, we do not. So with that, I wish everyone the best this session, and we stand adjourned. Thank you.